The city of Crescent Falls, Nevada, lived two lives. By day, it was a sleepy desert town with diners, gas stations, and the distant hum of freight trucks rolling down Interstate 80. But by night, the neon signs lit up, the casinos opened their doors, and the shadows behind the flashing lights told stories no tourist guide would ever mention. On a Friday night in July, Claire Donovan, a 28-year-old blackjack dealer, walked out of the Silver Mirage Casino at 2:15 a.m. Security footage showed her waving goodnight to a colleague before stepping into the desert air. She never made it home. Her red Toyota Corolla was later found abandoned just 2 blocks away, driver's door ajar, keys still in the ignition, and her purse lying on the passenger seat. No sign of a struggle, no blood, nothing. The case fell into the hands of Detective Marcus Hale, a seasoned investigator with the Crescent Falls PD. Hale was in his early 40s, broad-shouldered, with a face weathered by years of chasing criminals who always seemed one step ahead. Unlike most in the department, Hale wasn't easily swayed by casino money or small town politics. He had a reputation, stubborn, incorruptible, and unwilling to let go once he had his teeth in a case. Standing over the abandoned Corolla, Hale muttered to his partner, Officer Riley Torres, "She didn't just walk away from this. Someone wanted her gone." The casino was the logical place to start. Claire had been working there for 3 years, known for her charm and quick smile, but the staff interviews painted a different picture. A pit boss mentioned she'd been nervous the past week, distracted during shifts. Another dealer swore she saw Claire arguing with a man in the casino lounge the night before she disappeared. Tall guy, expensive suit, didn't look like a tourist, the dealer recalled. Security pulled footage, but the casino's cameras conveniently had a malfunction that night. Hale had seen it before casinos protected their own. Missing employees were bad for business, especially if it hinted at crime. Still, one grainy parking lot camera caught a glimpse, Claire leaving her car, walking toward a black SUV idling nearby. The SUV license plate was unreadable, the frame deliberately blurred. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. By Sunday, pressure was mounting. Claire's mother gave tearful interviews to local reporters, pleading for her daughter's safe return. The casino issued a statement calling her a valued member of the Silver Mirage family. While quietly scrubbing her employee profile from their website, Hale could smell the cover-up. That night, he received an anonymous envelope slid under his apartment door. Inside was a single playing card, the Queen of Hearts, with a message scrawled in red ink, "Stop digging, she's already gone." Hale slammed the card down on his kitchen table. Someone was watching him. But Hale wasn't the type to scare off. He dug into Claire's background. No criminal record, no history of drugs, a modest apartment on the east side of town. The only oddity, 6 months earlier, she'd filed a police report claiming she was being followed after work. The case was never pursued. He drove out to her apartment, a small one, bedroom complex near the edge of the desert. Inside, everything looked normal, except for a locked drawer in her dresser. With the landlord's permission, Hale forced it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them, all showing casino patrons in expensive suits, exchanging briefcases, shaking hands in shadowy corners of the gaming floor. Notes scribbled on the back of each photo, times, dates, amounts of money. Claire hadn't just been a dealer. She'd been collecting evidence. Torres, standing over his shoulder, whispered, "Jesus." She was spying on someone, maybe the mob. Hale pocketed the photos. His gut told him this wasn't just about a missing girl. Claire Donovan had stumbled into something bigger, something that stretched far beyond Crescent Falls. As he left the apartment, Hale noticed headlights flash at the end of the street. A car idled, watching him. When he started toward it, the engine roared, and the vehicle sped off into the desert night. Hale stood in the darkness, the desert wind tugging at his jacket, the Queen of Hearts card still burning in his mind. Claire wasn't just missing, she had become a threat, and someone was willing to kill to make sure her story never saw the light of day. Detective Marcus Hale didn't sleep that night. He sat at his kitchen table, the photographs spread out like a twisted jigsaw puzzle. Wealthy men, secret meetings, cash being exchanged, all under the glittering lights of the Silver Mirage Casino. Claire Donovan had been documenting something dangerous, but why her? Why would a blackjack dealer risk her life collecting evidence on men powerful enough to erase security footage and scare cops into silence? By morning, Hale had one lead, a name scribbled on the back of a photo. G. Madsen, 3 a.m. Hale knew the name. Gregory Madsen, a real estate developer with rumored ties to organized crime. He built half the hotels in Crescent Falls, yet never spent a day in jail despite countless whispers of fraud and extortion. Hale and Officer Torres drove to Madsen's newest construction site on the edge of town. Workers in neon vests moved steel beams while Madsen stood nearby in an Armani suit, barking orders into his phone. When Hale flashed his badge, Madsen smirked. "Detective Hale, to what do I owe this visit? Shouldn't you be chasing drunks and petty thieves instead of harassing businessmen?" Hale ignored the jab. "Where were you on July 15th around 2 a.m.?" Madsen's smile didn't fade. "Sleeping with witnesses. You want names? My lawyers will provide them. Now, unless you've got a warrant, I suggest you leave." Torres muttered under his breath as they walked back to the car. "Guy's slime. He knows something." Hale agreed. But without proof, Madsen was untouchable. That night, Hale was called out to the desert. A hiker had stumbled upon something 5 miles outside town. Under the pale moonlight, Hale crouched beside the shallow grave. The body was male, mid-40s, shot twice in the chest. No ID, but the expensive watch on his wrist suggested he wasn't a drifter. His fingertips were raw, as if someone had tried to erase prints. The coroner would later confirm. Strangulation, marks around the neck, bullet wounds post-mortem. A classic mob disposal. Torres whispered, "Think it's connected." Hale stared at the lifeless man, the desert wind howling like a warning. "Everything's connected." Back at the station, Hale ran the watch's serial number. It came back registered to a Michael Crane. A casino accountant reported missing 2 days earlier. Crane worked at Silver Mirage. Now Hale had 2 disappearances tied to the same casino and the same circle of men. At 3 a.m., Hale's phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. "She's alive, but not for long. Stop digging or you'll find her the same way you found Crane." Attached was a blurry photo. A woman tied to a chair in a dimly lit room, duct tape over her mouth. Claire Donovan. Hale's chest tightened. She was alive, for now. He rushed to trace the message, but it was routed through layers of burners. No luck. Torres urged caution. "They're baiting you. Could be a trap." "Maybe," Hale said, jaw clenched. "But if she's out there, I'm not letting her end up in another shallow grave." Hale returned to Claire's apartment, this time combing every inch. In the closet, behind a loose panel, he found a small notebook. Pages filled with neat handwriting, dates, coded initials, dollar amounts. But one entry stood out, circled in red ink. "Shipment Blackridge Warehouse, July 20. That was tomorrow. Blackridge was an abandoned distribution center just outside Crescent Falls. Hale knew the place well. It had been empty for years, rumored to host everything from drug drops to illegal gambling. If Claire had written it down, it mattered. The next night, Hale and Torres parked a mile from the warehouse, night vision binoculars in hand. At exactly 2 a.m., headlights appeared. 3 SUV rolled into the lot, engines rumbling. Men stepped out, carrying crates into the warehouse. Hale's blood ran cold. He recognized one of them, Gregory Madsen. "Got you," Hale whispered. Torres adjusted the binoculars. "What the hell are they moving?" Before Hale could answer, a chilling sound cut through the night. A woman's muffled scream. Claire. Hale's heart pounded. She was inside. They couldn't storm the warehouse without backup, but calling it in meant tipping off the department, and Hale didn't know who he could trust. If casino money had buried Claire's earlier police report, half the department could be on Madsen's payroll. Torres looked at him. What's the play? Hale tightened his grip on his gun. We go in quiet, get her out, then burn them to the ground. The detective and his partner slipped through the shadows, the desert night swallowing their footsteps. Ahead, the warehouse doors glowed faintly under the neon spill of Crescent Falls in the distance. Inside those walls waited answers and maybe death. Detective Marcus Hale and Officer Riley Torres crouched in the shadows of the Blackridge warehouse. The distant hum of generators mixed with the muffled voices inside. Crates were being unloaded. Men armed with rifles patrolled the lot, and somewhere in that building, Claire Donovan was fighting to stay alive. Torres whispered, 2 guards by the east door. If we time it right, wait. Hale cut him off. He spotted a security camera mounted above the entrance, rotating slowly. Whoever ran this operation wasn't careless. Front's too hot. We need another way in, Hale muttered. They circled the perimeter until they found a rusted maintenance hatch near the loading docks. Hale pried it open, and the two slipped into a narrow corridor smelling of oil and dust. Inside, the warehouse was alive with activity. From their vantage point above the catwalks, Hale could see everything. Men stacked crates, marked with false shipping labels electronics. Furniture, but when one was pried open, bundles of cash and bricks of narcotics gleamed beneath the fluorescent lights. Torres exhaled. Jesus, this isn't just a casino racket. This is a supply chain. And then Hale's eyes locked onto the far corner. A makeshift office constructed of plywood and glass. Inside, Claire sat tied to a chair, her wrists raw from struggling, duct tape over her mouth. A single guard stood watch. Claire's wide eyes flickered with hope when she saw Hale through the glass. We move now, Hale whispered. The two split up. Torres created a diversion by tossing a wrench onto the far side of the catwalk. The clang echoed, drawing 2 guards away. Hale descended silently, his gun drawn, moving through the stacks of crates. He reached the office and pressed his back against the thin wall. The guard inside was pacing, bored, rifle slung lazily across his shoulder. With a swift motion, Hale pushed open the door and struck the man across the jaw with the butt of his gun. The guard collapsed without a sound. Claire, it's me, Hale whispered, pulling the tape from her mouth. Her voice cracked with desperation. Marcus, they know about me. They're going to. I've got you, Hale assured, cutting her bindings. But before they could move, heavy footsteps thundered outside. The plywood door burst open, and Gregory Madsen himself stepped in, flanked by 2 armed men. His smile was cold and cruel. Well, well, Detective Hale, I thought you'd be smarter than this. Hale raised his gun, but Madsen held up a finger. Careful, you fire, she dies first. The barrels of 2 rifles pressed against Claire's head. Hale's jaw tightened. Let her go, Madsen. This ends tonight. Madsen chuckled. Oh, it ends tonight. Just not the way you think. They were marched out into the warehouse floor. Workers paused, watching as Madsen strutted like a king. This detective has been sniffing where he doesn't belong, Madsen announced. And this little dealer thought she could play whistleblower. Crescent Falls runs on money, gentlemen, and money runs on silence. Claire trembled beside Hale. Marcus, don't let them, Hale whispered. Stay calm. Madsen drew a pistol from his jacket and pressed it against Hale's chest. Last chance, detective, walk away. Pretend you never saw this, or die here, another body in the desert. The room went silent, all eyes on Hale. Then, a voice cut through the tension. Drop the gun, Madsen. Torres had climbed the catwalk, rifle aimed down at the crowd. He fired a warning shot, the bullet sparking off a crate. Chaos erupted, workers scattered, guards returned fire. The warehouse became a storm of bullets and shouts. Hale shoved Claire behind a stack of crates, shielding her as wood splintered around them. He returned fire, dropping one of Madsen's men. Torres kept raining shots from above, forcing the others to take cover. In the chaos, Madsen slipped toward a side exit. Hale noticed and sprinted after him. The chase spilled into the desert night. Sand crunched beneath their boots as Madsen fired blindly over his shoulder. Hale ducked, the bullets whizzing past, and returned fire, grazing Madsen's arm. Madsen stumbled, but kept running until Hale tackled him near an abandoned billboard. The two men grappled, fists flying, until Hale wrestled the gun away and pressed it against Madsen's throat. "Who's behind this?" Hale demanded. "You're not the top. Someone bigger's pulling the strings." Blood trickled down Madsen's lip as he smirked. "You're right, detective. I'm just the middleman. But if you think Crescent Falls is dirty, wait until you see who's really running the game." Before Hale could press further, headlights blazed across the desert. Another SUV screeched to a halt. Masked men jumped out, rifles raised. Madsen grinned. "Looks like my ride's here." Gunfire erupted again. Hale dove behind the billboard, returning fire as Madsen was shoved into the SUV. In seconds, the vehicle roared off into the desert, taillights vanishing into the horizon. Hale stood alone in the dust, chest heaving. He had Claire safe, he had evidence, but Madsen was gone, and worse. He was just a pawn. The true mastermind was still out there. Back at the warehouse, police sirens finally wailed in the distance. But Hale knew half the uniforms arriving were already compromised. He turned to Claire, who clutched his arm, eyes wide with fear. "They'll never let us leave this alone," she whispered. Hale nodded grimly. "Then we don't wait for them to come. We take the fight to whoever's behind the curtain." For the first time in years, Marcus Hale felt the ground shift beneath Crescent Falls. The neon lights still glowed, but behind them, something far darker controlled the city. And Hale was about to tear the veil down. The chaos at the Blackridge warehouse left Crescent Falls buzzing with rumors. Official reports claimed a gang shootout, but Hale knew the truth. Madsen had slipped away under the protection of men who operated above the law. Claire Donovan was alive, but shaken, and Hale had only scratched the surface of a much larger conspiracy. At dawn, Hale sat in his office, staring at the notebook Claire had hidden in her apartment. Every page pointed to the same conclusion: the Silver Mirage Casino was just a front. Money flowed in and out, washed clean through shell companies, then funneled into construction projects, trucking firms, even local elections. But one name kept surfacing in coded initials: R. K. Who's R? K? Torres asked, sipping burnt station coffee. Hale rubbed his temples. "That's what I need to find out. Whoever he is, he's above Madsen. He's running the whole operation." Claire, sitting quietly across the desk, finally spoke. "I've seen him, not his face, but the dealers talk, the bosses whisper, they call him the Kingmaker. They say no deal happens in Crescent Falls without his blessing." Hale's stomach tightened. If R.K. was real, he wasn't just a crime boss. He was the city's puppet master. That night, Hale received another envelope slid under his door. Inside was a photo of his partner, Torres, standing outside his apartment, unaware he was being watched. Scrawled across the bottom, "Next time we won't miss." Hale's blood boiled. They weren't just after him anymore. They were sending a message. No one around him was safe. He loaded his gun and told Torres, "We don't wait for them to strike. We hit first." The breakthrough came when Claire remembered something from her surveillance. One of the photos she'd taken showed a briefcase exchange in the Silver Mirage VIP lounge. A man with slicked back hair was handing Madsen a case, while another figure sat in the shadows. The initials R.K. were scribbled on the back of the photo. Hale studied it. The shadowy figure's ring caught the light, a gold signet with a raven engraved on it. Hale had seen that ring once before, years ago, during a corruption probe that mysteriously vanished. "Richard Kane," Hale whispered. Torres frowned. "Who's that?" Hale's face darkened. "The mayor of Crescent Falls." It all made sense. Mayor Richard Kane, no relation to Marcus, had risen from obscurity in record time, winning elections with suspiciously bottomless campaign funds. He spoke of reviving the city, yet construction projects always ended in ghost businesses and inflated contracts. He was the invisible hand behind everything. The Kingmaker wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was shaking hands at Ribbon, cutting ceremonies. Hale knew confronting a sitting mayor without proof was suicide, but Claire's notebook, the warehouse raid, and the photos were enough to build a case, if they survived long enough to hand it to someone trustworthy. So Hale made a choice. He reached out to an old contact in the FBI, Special Agent Dana Reeves, a relentless investigator with no ties to Crescent Falls. If anyone could take Kane down, it was her. But the Kingmaker wasn't about to go quietly. On the night Hale arranged to meet Reeves, an ambush struck. Hale and Torres drove Claire to a safe house outside town. Just as they pulled into the driveway, headlights flared behind them, 2 SUVs blocking the exit. Masked gunmen poured out, rifles raised. "Get down," Hale shouted, pulling Claire inside as bullets shattered windows. Torres returned fire from the porch, dropping one of the attackers before ducking back. It was a war zone. Glass rained down, tires exploded, smoke filled the air. Second floor, Hale yelled, dragging Claire upstairs. He shoved her into a closet. "Stay quiet, don't move." Then he charged back into the fight. Torres took a bullet to the shoulder, but kept firing. Hale picked off 2 more gunmen before the rest retreated into their SUV and sped away, leaving silence broken only by Torres's ragged breathing. "They're not stopping, Marcus." Torres winced. "They'll keep coming until one of us is dead." Hale's jaw clenched. "Then we make sure it's them." 2 days later, the Silver Mirage Casino glittered brighter than ever, tourists oblivious to the blood beneath its floors. But inside the VIP lounge, Mayor Richard Kane hosted a private meeting. He didn't expect Marcus Hale to walk in. The room froze as Hale stepped through the doors, gun drawn, Torres covering his flank despite his bandaged shoulder. Claire trailed behind with a recorder in her hand. "Evening, Mayor," Hale said coldly, or should I say Kingmaker. Richard Kane rose slowly, the raven ring glinting. "Detective Hale, brave but foolish. Do you know how many officers, judges, and politicians work for me? You can't touch me." Hale tossed Claire's notebook and photos onto the table. "These say otherwise, and the FBI agent waiting outside is about to walk in with a warrant." For the first time, Kane's smile faltered. The lounge doors burst open, and Agent Reeves stormed in with a team of federal agents. "Richard Kane, you're under arrest for racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder." The mayor's face hardened, but his empire crumbled around him as agents cuffed him. The Kingmaker was finally unmasked. Days later, Crescent Falls felt different. The Silver Mirage lost its luster, its secrets now evidence in court. The neon still glowed, but for the first time the city could breathe. Claire, free but forever changed, thanked Hale. "You saved my life, you didn't have to." Hale shook his head. "You saved yourself when you started documenting them. I just followed the trail." Torres, arm in a sling, grinned. "So what now, partner? Retirement." Hale looked out at the desert horizon, the neon lights flickering in the distance. "No, Crescent Falls still has shadows, and I'm not done shining a light on them." The city wasn't clean. Not yet. But the veil had been lifted, and Marcus Hale was ready for whatever darkness remained.